So I did a poll and the response was overwhelming that people were interested in a video about fad diets and cleanses and elimination diets that have been pretty popular, probably since the beginning of time, but especially lately with the internet and everything. So I thought I would just give you my 2 cents as a dietitian and a person on these types of diets. So when I was in grad school studying to be a dietitian, we were taught unequivocally these diets are bad. Like, don't ever let people do fad diets. We should spend our whole career telling people not to do fad diets. I always found it a little ironic because we were told that it was okay to be vegan or vegetarian, which to me is an elimination diet. And their logic on fad diets was usually that they eliminate whole food groups and therefore you'll be nutrient deficient. But veganism and vegetarianism also eliminate whole food groups, and yet we were taught that's fine, just give them some B vitamins and they'll be okay. So I was a little skeptical, but nonetheless, I was a young, new dietitian and I generally, bought the party line, fad diets bad. And so I decided that every year for Lent, I would do a fad diet or some kind of, trendy diet, mainly so that I could tell people, yeah, I tried it, it's a bad idea. I could speak from a place of, experience. So I did stuff like vegetarian and vegan. I would do it for like 40 days, macrobiotic, raw food, things like that. And it was 2012 or 2013, and I had just graduated from grad school. I was a newly minted dietitian, and I decided that the diet I would prove wrong was paleo, because that was really popular in 2013. And there was a program called the Whole30 that was new to the scene, which is hard to believe now. And I was going to do it. I was going to do the Whole30 for all of Lent, so 40 days, and I would tell people how totally stupid paleo is and what a waste of time. You'll feel like you have no energy and you're going to miss cheese a lot. So I did it. I was shocked. So it's not so much that I felt better. My diet was already pretty clean, or it was pretty nutritious in the first place. So I don't think it made a huge impact on my health, but what it did do is it taught me to read ingredient labels. And I think you need to pause here and think about this. I was a new dietitian. I had just completed 3 years of graduate school on nutrition, and it took a trendy 30-day elimination diet program to teach me to read ingredient labels? That's a flaw in the dietetic education system. I was taught just read the nutrition facts. Calories in, calories out, low fat, watch the sodium. We never really were told read the ingredients, but when you do a Whole30, and if you've done one, there's a whole slew of ingredients you're not allowed to have. And if you don't read the ingredients on packaged food, you'll never know if you're getting the banned ingredients or not. So I came out of the Whole30 a changed person, and I started using what I learned from that. I didn't stay paleo, but I did stay very attached to the ingredient label. And if there was something on it that didn't look good to me, I didn't buy it. And I taught my patients that. Read the ingredients. Okay, so that's one thing. I learned something new. Fast forward to 2015, I became a certified diabetes educator and I started working with diabetic patients. And again, much like dietetic school, my education for diabetes was nothing is eliminated. All food is fair game. Maybe we can just give them more insulin if the foods aren't working out, but don't really restrict the diet. If anything, get these people to lose some weight. So, put them on a low-cal diet. But other than that, dose them up with drugs, let them eat what they want. And I stumbled upon, around that time, a company called Virta and a doctor named Sarah Hallberg. And they were promoting a super low carb diet for diabetes, which is not what I learned when I was studying for my exam to become a certified diabetes educator. And I read through the science and I read through their thought process, and it made a lot of sense to me. And so I started trying it with some of my patients that were willing and putting them on these very low carbohydrate diets. And their blood sugars came down and they lost some weight and they felt better and they had more energy. And yet I was doing what I was told never to do in dietetic school, which is take a food group or a category of foods away from people. But I was telling these people, don't have grains, don't have sugar, don't have potatoes. So it was another eye-opening experience. In the case of people with a medical condition, it's possible that an elimination diet is the right thing to do. So I guess if I had to sort of conclude this for you guys, what's my advice to you? Advice number one, I don't really recommend fad diets just broadly, because chances are it's not made for your body. It's just a fad diet that's not really geared toward any particular patient, any particular individual. Chances are you won't stick with it because you won't really see huge effects. You won't really see huge benefits. You might actually see some negative side effects. And it'll just be kind of a waste of time. Maybe you'll lose a few pounds, you'll probably gain them back. Generally speaking, I don't recommend widely fad diets. On the flip side, I don't think short little challenges are necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, the Whole30 taught me something. So when I'm thinking about a short little challenge, a good example would be like a juice cleanse. Are you gonna learn anything from only living off of juice for 7 days? Probably not. If anything, you're gonna learn that you're very hungry when you only live off of juice. But you're not actually gonna get any skills from that you'll take on with you in the future. So I don't recommend a juice cleanse. But something like the Whole30, where you have to learn to cook more at home because the restaurant foods usually don't fit the criteria, where you have to read your ingredients, it might open you up to some new brands, some new options, some new recipes. I don't have a big issue with that, because you're gonna walk away from a Whole30 with knowledge. And that's permanent. They can't take that away from you just because you stop eating paleo. You're always gonna have your eyes opened to something. So whenever I'm assessing like a short-term elimination, I wanna know, are you gonna walk away with knowledge that you can take with you? And then, in the event that you have a medical condition, diabetes, autoimmune disease, intolerances that are really like life-altering and making you miserable, then I do think potentially an elimination diet is a good way to go, but I would strongly recommend working with a dietitian or perhaps a naturopath, somebody who is skilled in that disease state and knows what they're talking about and can individualize this diet to you, and not just some internet fad diet that's being sold to millions of people at once. So if you do have a medical condition, now, when I talk about medical conditions, I don't mean obesity. I don't think of obesity as a medical condition. To me, that's like saying that bleeding is a medical condition. No, you're cut and now you're bleeding and you should really fix the cut. If you've been gaining a lot of weight lately or you are overweight, there's a reason for it, but it's likely not just calories in, calories out. And working with a dietitian or a skilled practitioner to figure out the root cause of your weight is the way to start. Because while food might be involved and changing your food might be necessary or recommended, it's probably not gonna look like starve yourself and run on a treadmill all day. We need to figure out why you're overweight and then fix the food related to that. So hopefully that helps you guys kind of get through all the internet garbage of all these weird recommended diets out there and really just think about eating real food that has few ingredients, that's cooked at home, and that makes you feel good.